All right, guys, this week's question is pretty simple. Are home prices plummeting? Stay tuned and we'll dig into the data.
You better get fired up.
What's going on, guys? Happy Friday. We're here every single Friday with You've Got Questions, I've Got Answers at 11 o'clock, where we answer your biggest questions in real estate. And this week, we're looking into whether or not prices are plummeting. So I'm going to share some really easy to read data here to answer some of your questions. And this data is data that I pull from our MLS, which is kind of like our realtor database, every single Monday. I've been doing it for well over a year now. Let's see what I want to pull up. I want to pull this up. Yep, right here. So you can see right here that we've got prices. Okay, and I'm gonna have you focus on this row 11, median sales price. Okay. And on the first of last year, 2024, it was $420,000. Now we did have one weird, and if I pulled this out, you would see it was like a blip. 404, but then it came right back up. 423.5, 415, 412.5, 418, 425, 419.9. Then it came down to 414.780, 415, and now we had 410. Okay. Now, I purposely pulled this week out because I want you to see where we're going from here. Remember, we're in the 420s, down to the 14s, down to 410. What was that, 11 days ago? Now I'm going to pull up, let's see. Right here is the MLS, okay? And what we're going to do, this is how we pull median price, so you'll be able to see how I do it too. And it's a 45-day running median price, meaning that we're looking at the last 45 days. So let's scroll up to today. Okay, so we've got 18 days so far in July. Plus 30 is 48. Well, I only want 45, so let's get rid of these first 3 days of June, and we'll look from June 4th, okay? And I am looking at single-family homes only, just because the price difference in condos and townhouses and modulars are so different. So you can see we got 503 sales, okay? So that means the 252nd is that median priced home. So we're going to look, and again, these are sales. These are not asking prices. We're going to come down and we're going to look at that 252nd home, and let's see where we're at. And we're looking over here. Now we're down to 150, 175, 2, 2.25, 250. Here we go, 252. You are at $405,000. All right, 405. I looked this up the other day. It was 402. So it's actually come up just a hair from 402. But we're still seeing those prices coming down. I've been hearing them and not seeing it. I was not seeing it in the data for weeks. But now in the last 2-3 weeks, I've seen it come down. And we are in the 402 to 405 range on median price. What does that mean for you as a seller? Well, first of all, I'm going to tell you there's different brackets of price points here, right? I put a post up on social media. It was on Instagram a few days ago. If you go to my business page on Facebook, you'll be able to see it as well. In fact, I'm going to pull it up right now because I want to make sure I'm saying the correct info for you. But it broke it down into 3 different price points. Here it is. It was 2 days ago. My gosh. Broke it down into up to $400,000, 4 to 550, so just $150,000 window, and then 550 plus. $400,000 and lower, we've got 2.76 months of inventory. I always say 3 to 4 months is kind of neutral. So at 2.76, you're looking at a light seller's market, which a lot of people wouldn't believe. But it is a light seller's market. 4 to 550 is 5.35 months. That is a light buyer's market. And then 550 plus is 12.37 months. That is unquestionably a chugging along just fine buyer's market. All right. That is a strong buyer's market. They're going to get you on price. They're going to get you on concessions, or they're not going to get you, but you're not going to sell. All right. So it's very different price points. So to sellers, I would say if you're in that up to $400,000 price point, yeah, you want to be priced appropriately. There's a big difference. Let's just say the home is worth 350. There's a big difference between me saying, hey, all the comps are showing you should be around 350, and you say, hey, let's start at 360 versus, hey, let's start at 350. At 350, I'm seeing a lot of situations, most situations, where you're getting an offer. Maybe they're trying to negotiate, maybe not. Maybe they're coming in at full price, but it's ending at full price. I'm seeing a lot of situations too where, because we got multiple offers, we can negotiate and we get 355, 360. But for those that start at 360, I'm either seeing not a lot of movement, they got a drop, and then finally they'll get an offer. But usually it's hard to negotiate that offer because I can't tell you as an agent or a buyer, I've got multiple offers on a home that's been sitting for 39 days. And you believe me, most buyers are going to be like, go work with that offer. But on day 2, they're going to compete. There's a little more excitement. So those pricing strategies are much different. You're going to get much different results. If you're priced right, you're staged beautifully, you keep your home clean, you're not saying no to showing opportunities, you're probably going to sell for full market value. And if you've listed there, you might even get a hair more in multiple offers. Now, if you're in that $400,000 to $500,000 range, especially if you're in an HOA that is not popular right now, especially if you don't have a pool, especially if you've got a 15-year-old roof or older, that is going to be a little bit more challenging price point. You have to be priced appropriately. If you're not priced appropriately, you're going to have a tough time selling. Okay. If you're priced appropriately, you're staged appropriately. Hey, we got 5 months inventory. That's a light buyer's market. It really comes down to your agent or not. Or I should say it comes down to your agent and whether or not they're able to negotiate well for you. Every salesman on the planet thinks they're a good negotiator. When you look at the statistics of how somebody's able to get a deal on the table closed and to get you as a seller more, you'll see that maybe 10% of realtors are truly expert negotiators. It is the difference. Let's go up to that 450 price point, right? Somewhere in that 4 to 550 range we're talking about. It's the difference between getting an offer at 440 and getting it closed, and getting an offer at 440 and getting that buyer to come up to 450. That's the difference. It's a big deal. So your marketing matters, your realtor matters, your negotiation skills with your realtor matters, how your home looks, your photos. Do you have professional photos? Was it staged correctly? And most of all, are you priced right? If you're over 550, it is tough right now. You can have the best of all those things I just mentioned, and you could still sit for 4, 5, 6 months and not sell. It could happen. It is not an easy market. That market got flooded with a whole bunch of people, and we're not in a market where most sellers, and I've never seen a market like this, where most sellers are begging to sell. They have to sell, and they're going to take, whatever offer you present to them. I sold in 2008. I didn't see that either. Yes, you saw homes that took offers for 100 grand, 200 grand under. But for every home that did take that, there were 4, 5, 6 listings that wouldn't take it. So a lot of times people will see, oh, the sky is falling. I can come in and get a great deal. You can get a great deal on 1 out of 5 or 10 homes, not on the home that you want. So you've got to be more willing to get a good deal than to get a home that's at the top of your list. If you're okay getting home number 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, yes, you will be able to get a good deal. And that's not a bad thing either. Go after the deal if that's what you want. But what I've seen in my experience is people say they want a good deal, but then when they see the top 1 or 2 that they want won't give them a good deal, then they get frustrated and they don't know what to do. So you've got to decide, is the house more important or is getting a deal more important? And there's no right or wrong answer. I always share. I'm a professional real estate agent. I paid 25 grand more than asking because I wanted my house so bad. I did not get an inspection. Because number one, I'm a realtor. I mean, I feel pretty comfortable with knowing what's going on in my house. But also, it was 20 years old. I knew it needed a new roof. I knew it needed a new AC. So what are you going to tell me? It's all probably bad news anyway, and I'm ready and willing to fix it all, right? So neither one is a good or bad decision. It's just making sure you make a decision for you. But that's the 3 different stories I would be telling you depending upon which price point you're in. And all of them are very different from each other depending upon your price point. Now let's talk about buyers. And we kind of already alluded to this. If you're up to 400 grand, especially if you're not in an HOA, and especially if you have a pool and a 10-year-old roof or newer, you don't have a ton of negotiation power. You might be able to get 5-10 grand off. Maybe. It's probably not going to hurt you unless you're in a multiple offer situation to ask, but you might not get it. So don't necessarily expect it. Again, less than 3 months of inventory, up to 500 grand for single family homes. Okay, that's important to know. Now, if you have to have closing cost help, which a lot of buyers in that price point do, and the home is going for 350 and you need 10 grand in closing costs, you can come in at 360, ask for your 10 grand. The seller still gets what they want. And as long as it appraises, you're good to go. If it doesn't appraise, you get some problems. But as long as it appraises, you're good to go. Now, I'm not saying that needs to be your opening offer, but what I'm seeing right now, I just got an offer. Let's go through this offer. I got to go through this offer anyway. I've only looked at the price. So the offer is $15,000 low, and we're under $400,000. They got $5 grand in escrow deposit. They also want us to pay for title, which quick math tells me that's going to be about $1,700 additional dollars. They want to close in 2 months. That's not going to be desirable. They want 30 days to get loan approval. That's not desirable. I'm looking for 15 to 21. They also want the ability to back out if the rate is over 6.9%. That's rarely seen and not desirable. What else we got here? They want a 10-day inspection. If you can't get your buyer in there and get it done in 5 days, there's a problem. And it's probably you, the realtor, right? Now, every once in a while, there's a buyer who is vacationing in England. The home of their dreams pop up. They put an offer in, but I can't fly in for another 4 days. So can I get, 7 days, 8 days, whatever on inspection? I get it, right? But usually it's the realtor. Right now, I'm looking at this offer saying, man, this is a weak realtor. They're not tightening up on inspection. They're not tightening up on making their loan look better. They're not tightening up on price. I guarantee my sellers are going to say no. Right? What I got? I don't even know what that is. We got to look at that. It's got to appraise. Yeah, that's normal. That's not a big. Oh, I see what that is. Yeah, so that's it. So that offer right there is typical of what I'm receiving maybe 70, 80% of the time, but it's not typical of what's going to be accepted. There's no way that offer is going to be accepted. I'll tell you right now. They're going to counter it probably at full price with a 21-day loan approval, getting rid of the 6.9% rate that they want to promise themselves. They can lock in today. They don't need to wait. Lock in. And we're probably going to take the inspection down to 5 days. And they're probably going to say no. And that deal's not going to get put together. Right? So expectations for buyers at that price point, same as I just said with the other price points. If you go put in 10 offers like this, can you get one accepted? Yes. But it might not be your top 1 or 2 options. It might be your 6th favorite, your 9th favorite. You've got to be okay with that. 4 to 550. Now you got a little more leeway. The odds of you being in a multiple offer situation are pretty low. Unless you find a smoking house at a great price, everybody's going to see it really stands out and it's got a phenomenal price tag on it. You might get multiple offers, but 9 times out of 10, you're not going to have multiple offers. You're going to have time to talk, time to negotiate. Unless you're coming in 40, 50, 60 grand low, you're going to probably get a counter offer at worst. And now you can negotiate and maybe it works out. Maybe it doesn't work out. If you are 550 and above, the same is true. You might not get the home you're wanting, but can you get a deal? Unquestionably. Unquestionably. I'm seeing homes $600,000, $700,000, $900,000 taking offers that are $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 under. Now, that doesn't mean you got a great deal. It could have been $100,000 overpriced and you got $70,000 off. Okay, you're still paying 30 grand over, right? It doesn't mean you got a good deal. So just because you see that your buddy Chuck got a home for $70,000 off the asking price. Chuck will tell you it's a great deal, but that doesn't mean it was a great deal. You've got to see what their motivation is, which is challenging. It's challenging for a buyer to get a seller's motivation out of them. You're never going to get it out of me. Good luck. And then finding people who are desperate enough in their situation to want to take an incredibly low price. That is the only price point here in Port St. Lucie that'll consider it. That I'm seeing is at 550 plus, because they're getting beat up so much with the amount of inventory that's on. But again, if you're looking up to 400 grand, good luck. And that's a challenge we're seeing is that buyer, I just read their offer off to you. They're reading the headlines that says the market's atrocious for sellers. And they're putting in these offers that aren't going to get accepted. And the challenge for them is they're not being educated a lot of times on the fact that that market is completely different than 550 plus. 2 months inventory, 12 months inventory. It's two different planets. So you really want to educate yourself before you go put an offer in. Guys, hopefully that's helpful. Hopefully that probably over answered your question. If you've got future real estate questions you'd like answered, feel free to put them in the comments or send them to me in a DM, and we're more than happy to do them in future. You've got questions, I've got answers videos. Guys, have a great Friday and an even better weekend. Take care.